The Big Ten grabbed USC and UCLA from the clutches of the Pac-12 last offseason, and now the Pac-12 has just 1 year remaining, 2023, 1 year remaining on their media deal with ESPN and Fox, and with no good deal really on the table for the Pac-12 presidents. Does that mean this conference could be ripe for the picking? As it pertains to the Big Ten, the question is, do any of the remaining Pac-12 schools provide any value for the Big Ten in terms of expansion? It's a great time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Big Ten football content all off season long. Always mash that like button to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses. A lot of rumblings from our friends out west. A lot of rumblings of who could be media partners. Amazon, Apple TV+, ESPN, Fox. There's all sorts of options being floated out there. They're talking expansion. San Diego State, Fresno State, SMU. There's a lot of things being floated out there in Pac-12 country. And now as of late, rumors are heating up of maybe some schools getting a little bit restless, not having a deal done yet, and maybe they could be looking to jump elsewhere. Of course, on this channel, we're focused on the Big Ten. Do any of the remaining Pac-12 schools provide value for the Big Ten Conference? We're going to get into that. Now, when the Big Ten makes realignment moves, they make big realignment moves. I think that's the thing that we need to keep in mind when we start this discussion. Okay, you look back at their last three realignment moves, adding Nebraska in 2009. It's a national brand with a national fan base. It is probably the biggest fan base in all of college football. It spans all across the country, and Nebraska draws eyeballs to the television screen. Although Lincoln, Nebraska might not be the biggest media market, this is a national brand of football. So a big move when they brought in Nebraska there to join the conference in the early 2010s. Then you look at Maryland and Rutgers, were their next move a couple of years later. Now, although the Terps and the Scarlet Knights don't really do much between the lines in terms of winning football games and maybe drawing eyeballs to the football product, it's the sheer population of those areas, a big population. New York City, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, DMV, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of people in that area, big amount of people, and that's what the Big Ten was going after with that move. And then, of course, you got this last move with USC and UCLA. Los Angeles, one of the biggest markets, going out west to California, a new kind of deal for the Big Ten. And, of course, eyeballs are drawn when the Cardinal and Gold suit up inside the Coliseum. USC is a national brand that people watch, that people tune into, a lot like Nebraska, like I mentioned before. So these are all big realignment moves. When you talk about realignment with the remaining Pac-12 schools, I kind of want to go through each group of teams to see if really any of these teams provide value. The first place you have to start is a place that I've spent the last couple of summers in. And, you know, it is one of the most beautiful areas in the country. I've hiked around 100 miles in the Rocky Mountains. It is beautiful, but it doesn't really provide a lot in terms of Big Ten expansion. I'll just say that. Utah and Colorado, although maybe check back with me in 5 years in Colorado to see if Dion has turned this team into a national brand. Although these are AAU schools, they don't really provide much in terms of markets, Denver and Salt Lake City. They don't really provide much in terms of a recruiting base. And although Utah has probably been one of the best, if not the best Pac-12 team the last few years, people aren't tuning in to watch the Utah Utes. Okay, if Utah plays Stanford, I don't know how many people are watching that outside of those two fan bases, and maybe people scrolling through the channels. If USC plays Stanford, I think a couple of more people are tuning in. Okay, Arizona and Arizona State, although Arizona's AAU, Phoenix, Desert, meh. No, but they don't really provide any value. Stanford and Cal are a very interesting case study because it doesn't get better academically than Stanford and Cal Berkeley, right? And the university presidents, that's one thing. That's one piece of the pie that people really dive into at the dessert table, but there's more courses to sitting down and having a meal than just dessert. If academics is dessert, you got to have the main course. You got to have the sides. That's market. That's success on the football field. And Stanford and Cal don't really have success, and they're not going to draw eyeballs. And Stanford and Cal have trouble filling their own home stadiums against some of the bigger teams in the Pac-12. So I'm afraid those teams don't really provide any value as well. Thanks, but no thanks to Oregon State and Washington State. So now you got to move on to the real contenders that's been talked about before, and that's probably going to be talked about until a deal is done or a move is made, and that's the Oregon Ducks and the Washington Huskies. Now, the thing about Oregon, I think they are a really good football program. I don't know if they're a great football program, and they're not an elite football program. They stand out, I'll say that. They stand out with their uniforms, with their Nike and Phil Knight collaboration. They stand out. I just don't know if this is as big as a move, if adding Oregon and Washington together really falls in line with what they've done. Portland and Seattle don't really bring a huge punch like Los Angeles and New York City in their last two realignment moves in terms of market size. I just don't know if they've had the success. I don't know if they draw the eyeballs. I think they're a good value. I just don't think they're a great or a home run type of value that the Big Ten likes to hit on. That's how I view Oregon and Washington. Oregon has been a solid team, right? From coach to coach, Chip Kelly, Mario Cristobal, and now Dan Lanning. This is a solid program on the field. I just don't think they have the market. I don't think they draw the eyeballs like a USC and a UCLA. And when I talk about USC and UCLA, I think the Bruins and the Trojans want to be on an island as the only Big Ten schools on the West Coast, similar to how Texas A&M was for just a little bit within the SEC and the state of Texas. The thing you got to keep in mind, the more you add schools, the more you have to split revenue. Okay, there's been talk lately that people Big Ten presidents want to put a stop to Big Ten expansion because they want to keep that TV revenue over $100 million with this latest deal with NBC, CBS, and Fox. Right now, I just don't know if Oregon and Washington really add that value to the Big Ten Conference. I think they're good. I think they could add big-time value to a conference like the Big 12. I just don't know if they add that big-time punch that the Big Ten is used to in their realignment moves. I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think that this is going to happen? Do you think the Big Ten is going to go out and get some Pac-12 schools? Or like me, do you just think they don't pack a punch? Do you think they just don't really bring a ton to the Big Ten right now? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to Big Ten Ted if you haven't already. I'm Big Ten Ted. We will see you in the next one.